I moved to London alone when I was 18, and perhaps it was the best and worst decision I've ever made. This is the start of a series where I show you the unfiltered reality of navigating your 20s in London. The loneliness, the hustle, the joy, the doubt, all of it. If you've ever felt behind in life, you're not alone. Moving to London was something I dreamed about since I was 9 years old. Yet somehow, nothing could have prepared me for how my life was going to change. In many ways, I see myself as two people, Mia before London and Mia after. Don't get me wrong, I'm still me, still true to myself, but there was so much I had to shed and redefine just to survive in this city. Before I came here, I was reserved, deeply codependent on the people around me. I hated doing things alone. I was scared to talk to strangers. I vividly remember being too shy to ask the waiter where the bathroom was. I lacked the confidence a person needs to navigate life. And yet, there was always something in me that knew I was meant for more. These ambitions weren't placed in me by accident. I knew they were meant to become mine. To me, London became the embodiment of all of my hopes and dreams. I saw it as a faraway place where if I could just get there, everything I wanted would come true. Since childhood, I fantasized about life here. I even made PowerPoints to convince my parents to move to England. The cheapest boarding schools, jobs my dad could get, houses we might afford. Those plans didn't work out, but when your mind becomes stubbornly fixated on something, you often find your way there eventually. I graduated high school in 2022 and went through the same university application process as everyone else. I applied to local South African universities for degrees I thought I might enjoy. I got into all of them. And I remember thinking, this is someone's dream. I should be excited, but I felt nothing. Just because it's someone else's dream, and a valid one, doesn't mean it's mine. So I circled back to the dream I always circled back to. London. Funny enough, when I was younger, I made these elaborate, unrealistic plans to get here. But this time, I left it to fate. I worked as a waitress for a few months, took all of my savings and got on a flight. There was no plan. But oh, was it the beginning of quite the journey. My original accommodation plans fell through. I landed in a new country with nowhere to sleep. By some miracle or dumb luck, I remembered two girls from high school who were living in London. We hadn't spoken in years, but I reached out while crashing at a family friend's place. They told me they were living in a hostel in central London. I looked it up, saw there was one bed left, and I booked it. That hostel would end up being my home for the next year and a half. It was far from glamorous. No kitchen, sharing rooms with strangers, filthy bathrooms, collapsing ceilings, and mice. But that building also gave me so much. It was unglamorous, yes, but it was perfect for that chapter of my life. The rent was so cheap, and it gave me the freedom to enjoy the early days of London life without stressing too much. And socially, it was everything. Besides the two girls I knew from back home, I didn't know anyone. But in that hostel, I met so many people that became friends. My friend Holly and I became really close to two Australian guys who were also staying there. When the other South African girl we were living with went back home, it was just the four of us. And we did everything together. That year was honestly magical. And it all happened because of the hostel. Those two girls from high school, we became inseparable. We bonded over the struggle of being new to London and being broke. We went sightseeing together, made memories, and turned a tough situation into something beautiful. It was wild how London brought me back to people from my past, people I never imagined reconnecting with. Plus, it was in central London, so I saved on transport and could get to work easily. It just made everything feel accessible. So clearly, I didn't come to the UK with a clear place to stay. Surely then, I must have come with a job lined up. Yeah, no. I don't know if it was naive optimism or blind faith, but I just assumed I'd figure it out. Without a degree or real experience beyond waitressing at a small cafe back home, job hunting was brutal. Even hospitality roles in London wanted more experience. I applied endlessly, hearing back from no one, except one. And funnily enough, 2 years later, I'm still working there. That first phase of my London life was chaotic, but it was also magical. There's still so much more I want to accomplish, but in some strange way, I had already made it. I was living in the city I had always dreamed of. I had no plan, but I was here. And for a moment, that was enough. But slowly, life in the city went from thrilling to draining. I was surrounded by people who had more money, more resources, more direction. And I felt like working in hospitality was leading me nowhere. As I said, I've always had big goals, but I felt completely lost on how to reach them from where I was. I got swept up in the pace of London. I worked non-stop to survive. I forgot to look ahead. I forgot what I came here for. Living in London isn't easy. And when you lose sight of the road, it's easy to lose yourself too. I realized I wasn't chasing the goals that brought me here in the first place. I felt like I'd failed at the one chance to build the life I'd dreamed of. I missed my parents so much it hurt. I just wanted to be home, not constantly worrying about bills or whether I could emotionally keep doing this. I felt depleted and lost. And for a moment, I truly believed I had to go home and rebuild before I could be strong enough for London again. I doubted if I was even capable of making a life here. While my parents were cautious but supportive, the real wake-up call came from our family friends. They gave me some serious tough love. They told me I would be making a huge mistake by going back, that I was choosing the easy way out instead of building something here, that I was running away from my potential. I didn't want to hear it at first. No one likes having a mirror held up to their face. But they were right. I was letting fear shrink my future. I remember walking home from work, exhausted and questioning everything. But then I looked up at the buildings around me and realized I was walking the same streets I used to dream about. I'd made it to the city I once imagined calling home. In that moment, I remembered why I came here in the first place. So I looked for another way forward. Not away from London, but deeper into it. I started considering studying in the UK again. I'd looked into it when I was 17, but dismissed it as too expensive. Still, I began researching prestigious universities, trying to figure out which courses aligned with the life I wanted. I didn't know how I would fund it. I didn't know if I would qualify for loans, but I was done playing small. I had to try. Waiting to hear back was torturous. I could feel my fate hanging in the air. And then, miraculously, I started receiving acceptances. And then, I got into my dream university, King's College, London. Years of indecision, feeling lost, not knowing what the future held, lifted off my shoulders in one overwhelming wave of relief. I cried when I read that letter. It finally felt like I knew where I was going. But just as this shift was happening, my life was going through another transition. All my friends, from home and from the hostel, moved away by the end of 2024. My world turned upside down. The people I did everything with were suddenly gone. And I realized just how much they'd been my entire support system here. Without them, I had no friends. A big part of why 2025 felt so lonely was because I moved out of the hostel. That place was social by default. There were always people around, always plans, always someone to chat to. Once I left that environment, the silence felt loud. I was living alone, and suddenly everything felt heavier. I found a flat on spare room and moved in, desperate to finally have a kitchen and some privacy. And while I don't regret the move, oh, the joy of cooking again, it came at a cost, literally. My rent nearly doubled, and financially, I've been stretched thin. The combination of financial strain and loneliness made for a tough year. That's when I turned to social media seriously, in May 2025, as a second source of income to support myself through university. I started posting YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram content, everything. What I didn't expect was the community I'd find. So many people in London, just like me, feeling lonely and far from home. Since then, we've met up, hung out, and bonded over what it means to be in your 20s in London. Excited, uncertain, alone, yet somehow still full of hope. I've been through so many phases since moving here. Survival mode, burnout, loneliness, and I think I'm finally at the point where I can look back and reflect, not from a perfect place, but a growing one. So I guess you could consider this video your introduction to my world, my London life. I want to take you along with me on this journey so we can figure it all out together. The messy, beautiful, lonely parts of your 20s. Consider my YouTube channel your little corner of London, a place you can turn to when you're also scared of the future. Because trust me, I am too. In this series, I will be navigating my 20s in real time, starting university, working, making friends, finding myself, and I hope it inspires you to do the same, whether you're in a big city or the small town you've always called home. You'll see me grow, you'll see me fail, but most of all, you'll see me become the girl I was always meant to be. If that's a journey you want to join, hit subscribe and comment below what your dream life in the city looks like. Let's navigate our 20s in London together.